Chapter 3. The Elixir Competition. A little over a week had passed since the fight against Nightmare Mario. Annalise was at home in her room, trying to figure out whether or not she wanted to keep her painting in her closet or do something else with it. Keycordy the cat was in the room with her, sleeping in her bed. Tana knocked on her door, and Annalise immediately put the painting back in the closet and shut the door before her bedroom door was opened. Mario and Luigi are here, Tana said. Are they? Annalise asked. Why? They want to take you and your siblings on a trip for the weekend, Tana said. By ourselves? Without you? Annalise asked. I thought you never wanted us to leave home without you and Dad. Annalise, don't say you weren't involved in that battle nearly a week ago, Tana said. I never would have seen anyone come out alive after fighting against a giant, especially not my eldest daughter. Okay, I see your point, Annalise said. Annalise grabbed her belongings and made her way to the front yard to meet up with Mario, Luigi, her brothers, and her sister. Before they departed from the village, they stopped to pick up Cornan, Azalea, Anonymous, Aaron, Cassiela, and Nuta along the way. Then they made their way via caravan to the same harbor Annalise's family took on their way to Brokus. The boat the Nintendo boarded was on its way to the Mushroom Kingdom. So, where are we going? Annalise asked. We're on our way to the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario said. Luigi and I want you to meet someone. The trip to the Mushroom Kingdom was indeed a long one, for the Nintendo didn't arrive until sundown. The boat was docked at another harbor that was linked to a castle town where every building looked like mushrooms. The mushroom stems were the walls, the caps were the roofs, and there were openings on the sides. There were even mushrooms sprouted all over the ground, both big and small, bearing many colors. Even the residents were mushroom people, called toads. I've heard that all 4 princesses are meeting here right now, Mario said. This is our best opportunity to meet them all. 4 princesses? Annalise asked. One of them resides here, Mario said. The other 3 are from across the sea. One came from Sarasaland, a neighboring island that we passed by on our way here. One came from beyond, and one came from an unknown location up north. The Mushroom Kingdom's residents weren't used to having visitors like the Nintendo, for only Darinkans would visit and try to spread the words of their goddess, and they would even persecute those who dared to turn against them. Noticing that Mario and Luigi were with them lightened their moods. The Toads knew that just by looking at the Nintendo's colorful attire let them know that they were much nicer and more civilized than the Darinkans. Therefore, every time the Nintendo passed by the Toads, they were always greeted by them. The castle wasn't far from the town, for it was surrounded by a moat, and a bridge connected the main entrance to the town. It was painted all pink, with windows all around the sides, a tower in each corner, a balcony in the front, a stained glass portrait of the princess above the balcony, mushroom sculptures on the bridge, and flags at the tips of every tower. There were smaller triangular flags on the surrounding towers and a big rectangular flag at the very top, bearing the image of a mushroom in front of a pink background. By the time the Nintendo made it to the castle's gate, Toad, Toadette, and Toadsworth were standing in front of it. It's Mario and Luigi, Toad said. Have you all come together to meet the princesses? We have, Mario said. Are they inside the castle? Of course they are, Toadette said. They should be in the main hall. I'll open the gate for you kids, Toadsworth said. The gate opened, and the Nintendo entered the castle. The main hall was an open space, with doors along the walls and paintings decorating the walls. The wall paintings covered the entire walls, depicting scenes in nature. Grass, trees, flowers, mushrooms, water, hills, animals, clouds, and sky. There was a circular emblem symbol in the center of the floor, and above it was an opening that let the sun shine through and land on the circular emblem at the dawn of every summer solstice. Across from the main door was a staircase leading up to a loft bearing doors on the second floor. Princess Peach was standing in front of the stairs while talking to Princess Daisy. Both princesses turned and noticed the arrival of Mario and Luigi. Mario! Luigi! Peach said. It's been a while, eh? Hi, I'm Daisy, Daisy said. Say, who all did you bring with you? Peach and Daisy, Mario said. These are Thedosians, but they are unlike the Darinkans. They call themselves the Ninten, for they were chosen to become heroes like us and were given personalized gear. Nice to meet you, Annalise said. I'm Annalise. My brothers are Mylanon and Inaro, and my sister is Josephina. We were dragged into the Darinkan school by our parents, Mylanon said. None of it appeals to any of us, but we're there anyway. The laws they abide by are ruthless, Inaro said. This should be a non-Darinkan community, right? Oh, of course it is, Peach said. No matter how hard those people try, they cannot convert our people as long as they are loyal to me, Princess Peach. It is the same with Sarasaland, my home kingdom, Daisy said. We get Darinkan guests all the time, and yet my people don't change their ways to follow theirs, or else my name isn't Princess Daisy. I was unable to get any of the action, Josephina said. It was too dangerous for me. I stayed at home to help Mom recover from the shock she had last week. Even the smallest things count, Peach said. Why was your mom in shock? Because her mom was in trouble, Annalise said. The village she lives in was ransacked by Nightmare Mario. Ah, so the giant has returned, Peach said. Mario told me that he sealed Nightmare Mario long ago, and then the sky turned crimson red. That was the sign of his escape, was it not? Unfortunately, yes, Mario said. Now that he's free, he can continue in his plot to eat me. He might even consider eating the rest of this team due to how powerful they were in the fight against him. I see that, Peach said. So it appears to me that you came to Daisy and me for help in the future. So, what about the rest of you? Daisy asked. You guys haven't said anything yet. Right, Azalea said. I'm Azalea, and I wield a bow and arrows. I'm Anylamus, Anylamus said. I'm a brawler. And I'm her brother Aaron, Aaron said. I was given this crossbow. My name is Cassiala, Cassiala said. This small blaster is mine. I'm Cornan, Cornan said. I got this small sword, but it seems to defend me quite well. The name's Nuta, Nuta said. And I'll have to agree with Cornan. I may be the first ever to learn to battle with a ball like this one. So, all of you were in that fight against Nightmare Mario, Daisy said. That's pretty impressive, especially for people at your age, as well as those weapons you have. So, where are the other two princesses who were supposed to be here? Annalise asked. And Mario, when you said one of the princesses came from beyond, what did you mean by that? I can tell you, Rosalina said. Princess Rosalina joined the conversation, making an entrance from around the corner. Unlike Peach and Daisy, her presence gave off a galactic feeling, and it looked like she was levitating, for her feet barely touched the floor. It's true, Rosalina said. I did come here from outer space. No way, Annalise said. Incredible. Were you really born from space? Josephina asked. Indeed I was, Rosalina said. My name is Rosalina. Oh, and there should be one more here, Peach said. Where could she be? We have more guests, you say? Kenza asked. Another princess entered from the opposite direction Rosalina entered from. Her name was Kenza, an unknown princess with red hair and an orange dress. Oh, they're unlike the typical guests you often get, Kenza said. Isn't that right, Peach? Mario and Luigi are with them, Peach said. This group is the first in a while that my people actually gave a proper greeting. They're used to the usual cowering before the vicious Darinkans, but once I saw this light in them, I knew that these particular people are more than society has transformed today's people. Well, I'll be, Kenza said. In that case, it is an honor to meet you. My name is Kenza. Kenza, huh? Annalise asked. Mario said you're the princess from an unknown place up north. Where is that? Well, it's a long story, Kenza said. I'm only a princess of a small kingdom near Bowser's kingdom. The Ninten was shocked when she said that, even with a casual tone. Bowser's kingdom? Mylanon asked. But his forces just attacked us not too long ago. Are you a part of them? Inaro asked. Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, Josephina said. You knew this about her, and yet you don't panic? That is because her residents settled in a small piece of land close to Bowser's kingdom, but they isolated themselves from them, Peach said. The people who established that land lived there long before Bowser rose to power. These people have always been innocent. Yeah, our people were suffering under the empire of the Koopas, Kenza said. They seeked out a strong leader pure enough to lead them to a better lifestyle, and so they looked up to me. I always thought that people who lived within Bowser's region were treacherous and reckless, Luigi said. Turns out those same people are actually suffering because of those characteristics that hover above them as they dwell within such an awful empire. Kenza's level of leadership and ours just so happen to overlap, Daisy said. And that is why all four of us are here today. So that leaves us all wondering, Rosalina said. What brings all of you here? Do you seek help? A reunion, perhaps? Well, I have been thinking that your help may be quite handy, Mario said. We haven't officially defeated Nightmare Mario, and Bowser's forces have been invading Phinleyan lately. Would you four be willing to come with us to Thedos? Luigi and I left Brokus because I saw an important difference in these people, like Annalise. I would be honored, Peach said. If you're looking for help in battle, count me in, Rosalina said. Yes, take me with you, Daisy said. Even if I am absent, my people will still keep their faith in me. I've been looking for some real action for a very long time, Kenza said. And before we depart, there is something you all must know, Peach said. Nightmare Mario isn't the only giant created by Bowser. Therefore, Mario isn't the only human vessel. I, too, am a victim to this abnormal creation process. And so is Daisy, and so is Rosalina, and Luigi, and Kenza. All of the giants of the Blood Moon, however, prey on humanity because the Koopas took away every other natural resource necessary for their survival. If the Koopas' forces were present during your last battle, I can tell that Nightmare Mario fought against them as he fought against you. That's right, Annalise said. So, what does Nightmare Mario actually seek? No one knows, Peach said, but all we can assure is that he wants to get back at Bowser, for he must have been told about what happened. I mean, why else would he have attacked Bowser's forces? I say we observe what he is up to when we have the chance, Mario said. At the same time, I must avoid Nightmare Mario so that he doesn't eat me. I can already tell you, Mario, that Nightmare Mario doesn't want to eat you for the same reason why the rest of the giants eat humans, Peach said. His reasoning seems to be more diverse. It's something about my power that he wants, Mario said. He wants to use it to take Bowser down himself, considering what he said during our last battle. Each of these people were equally as capable as I am to fight. Well, except maybe Josephina. Therefore, his desire to eat them too is highly likely. Even Annalise was able to rescue me right before Nightmare Mario swallowed me whole. It was the blade I received from a ruined temple, Annalise said. Even if the Darinken's beliefs are false, something is definitely out there. Indeed, Peach said. The Darinkins are one of the key sources to the downfall of all older beliefs and cultures of our nearby lands. Now that we are here together, we can rediscover the ancient beliefs and possibly bring them back. I feel like we're going to need some more help to do that, Peach, Daisy said. I doubt that what we may be looking for is anywhere in our kingdoms. Then let's break for Thedos, Mario said. Mario and I moved into this village where the rest of the Nintendo lives, Luigi said. There are still many houses available, if you're at all interested. Whatever it takes for us to unite with you in battle, Peach said. Come, and let us depart. The four princesses, Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza, followed the Nintendo to the harbor and boarded the same boat that brought them to the Mushroom Kingdom, for there was still enough room for them. Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina didn't need to take much with them, for they all had different magical powers. Peach had heart power, Daisy had flower power, and Rosalina had space power. Unlike them, Kenza had a sword with her. The heroes slept on their way back to Phinleyan, for it was night, and the moon shone its light over the deep blue sea. It wasn't until morning that the Nintendo made it home in time to meet up and share Eosater. The sun rose upon the following Mundos, Monday, in the middle of the month of Juno in 1517. Tana and Shana were still persistent in their new beliefs in the Darinken Temple, and so they sent their children to Daranaka Academy, and their friends were forced along. And since Mario and Luigi interfered with the school as it was in session, they were also forced in as students, therefore enforcing it upon Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza as well. Each princess, according to their young ages, was forced into the same class as Mario and Luigi, who were both punished by the goddess to be placed in the Ch3 class with Annalise, who was said by the Darinkans to be scheming with them. They luckily managed to suffer through half of the day, until they were asked to make their way to the school's laboratory. It was the day of the Elixir competition, which was the biggest academic event that had every single class involved. Professor Elijah was the director, and every other professor spectated and supervised their students. "Welcome to the Elixir competition of Juno in 1517, Elijah said. "This is the monthly competition that I have hosted ever since I have worked here as a professor. Here you all will be tested on your current skills in science and magic. Of course, the difficulty will be determined by your grade levels. Now, shall we hand out the equipment based on that?" While Mylanon, Inaro, and Josephina could have been split into their grade levels, they instead stayed with the Nin 10, who considered themselves to be apart from everyone else. Their setup was the closest to the front of the room. The rest of the professors volunteered to get the right equipment for their students to use. Professor Garoda provided the equipment for Prometa, Professor Nialis provided for Demeta, Professor Olive provided for Trimeta, Professor Sherry for Quameta, Professor Pulo for Seneta, Professor Anne for Seseta, Professor Leon for Seteta, Professor Chim for Oxeta, Professor Elijah for Neneta, Professor Ziny for Ducata, Professor Plassa for Predicata, and Professor Meg for Didacata. Every student was provided with a set of chemicals, miniature tubes, one big flask, stirring sticks, measuring cups, a brewer, 4 candles, and a track log. Every other detail was up to the participants. Andono and Bron were there to look after everyone to make sure no one attempted to leave. "The equipment is squeaky clean," Elijah said. "You have no need to fret about washing so much. If you are new, you must know this. Now, whoever can impress us the most shall win and be rewarded with the goddess's glory. Now, before we begin," Andono said, "we must recite the passage from the Dirianis we are to recite every time we have one of these contests. If you are new, the passage is written on the wall over the statue of the goddess right there," Bron said. "Read it aloud as you recite with us." The goddess statue was in the very back of the room, and the passage was on a sign right above it. Every student and professor recited the passage, but the Nin 10 kept silent. They took a look at the passage and didn't even think about saying the words aloud. "Magic competes, whether as a game or a bloody war. The goddess's magic is pure, but nature's magic is evil. The greatest of all magic is science, one that defines everything in life. The goddess is inevitable. Life is short, and death is inevitable. Magic is used for good or evil, and our use of it depends on our heart's desires." After the passage was said, every student started creating their elixirs. The Nin 10 assumed that that was also their cue to begin working. The most common elixirs gave one the supernatural powers of the goddess for a short amount of time, that being flight, seeing all, knowing all, growth, strength, wisdom, talents in the arts, altered vocal volume, invisibility, invulnerability, transformation, and confidence. The magic spells the Nin 10 was going for were based on the main colors they bore, putting on a beautiful show of colorful lights. Mylanon, Inaro, and Josephina were made responsible for keeping all colors together. Kenza and Anilamis bore the color aura, orange. Rosalina and Cassiela bore the color blue. Daisy and Aaron bore the color yellow. Peach and Azalea bore the color pink. Luigi and Cornin bore the color green. Mario and Nuta bore the color red. Annalise's task was to prepare the lights that would come from each color, creating a big finish. However, the Nin 10 was unable to perform their elixir as soon as they were done creating it, for after a session of worship, which took place once all projects were completed but before they were performed, that the heroes played no part in, Brokus, Zahn, and Multus swapped their elixir with their own. After that session was over, it was time for all elixirs to be performed. The typical powers were revealed among most students, some being more impressive than before, despite the difficulty. The moment the Nin-10 activated their elixir, 16 beams of darkness were fired from it, causing the glass bottle to explode, and each beam infected every member of the Nin-10, which made them all shrink down to size. The professors and students were fear-struck by what happened, for an elixir had never backfired like that, especially not one that would make any individual only 2 inches tall. Brokus, Multus, and Zahn all laughed, for their scheme worked perfectly. They took the Nin-10's real elixir and hid it somewhere in the lab, which nobody was able to see. They even snagged another elixir, created by Yahim and Yebieta, and hid it along with the colorful elixir. The Nin-10's immediate response was to run and hide, making their way downstairs and into the lobby. There they hid underneath one of the benches to rest and catch a breath. "What happened back there?" Annalise asked. "We're all tiny now," Peach said. "Somehow our elixir backfired." The professors cleaned up the mess while the students were told to return to class and wait for them to return. Brokus, Multus, and Zahn hid themselves so that the professors would believe that they went back to class too. Instead, they were on the lookout for the Nin-10. "It worked," Brokus said. "But where did they go?" "They must have run off somewhere," Multus said. "They couldn't have left the school," Zahn said. "You're right," Brokus said. "Let's split up." Thus Brokus spoke, and the 3 troublemakers split up around the school to find the miniature Nin-10. They were still hiding under the benches in the lobby. "I should have known that they would do this," Annalise said. "But this is just too much." "The door is locked," Mario said. "How can we get out?" The Nin-10 looked around to find an alternate exit. Through the window that connected the lobby to the office was another window leading outside, and it was cracked open. The door to the office was barely elevated from the ground, unlike the front door, so that the Nin-10 would be able to slide underneath it. Rosalina spotted the window and pointed at it. "There," Rosalina said. "That's our escape." The Nin-10 quickly slid underneath the office door and stood before the open window. The only issue was that it was too far out of reach, so they had to use some sort of wedge to make it out of the school. The desk to the left included drawers that the tiny heroes used to climb onto it, and they were able to find a stick that was long enough to reach the windowsill without falling off. Before anyone could escape, the Nin-10 could hear Brokus nearby. "We're running out of time," Peach said. "Let's get out of here." Each member had to walk across the stick individually to reach the windowsill. Annalise made it first, and she let the others know that below the windowsill outside was a fake potted plant, so they could use it to get down safely. Mario, Luigi, Mylanon, Enaro, Cornan, Nuta, Aaron, Cassiela, and Anylamus made it to the sill before Brokus opened the door to the lobby. He still didn't see them yet. "Go ahead and jump down, those of you who made it already," Peach said. Thus Peach spoke, and those who made it to the sill used the potted plant to climb down to the ground safely. Then Kenza, Daisy, Rosalina, and Azalea were able to make it to the sill to join them. Josephina was afraid to walk across the stick because she thought she would lose her balance and fall. Peach was with her. "I'm too young for stuff like this," Josephina said. "Why did they have to curse me too?" "They must know that you are Annalise's sister," Peach said. "How heartless of them." "Is there a better way for me to get across?" Josephina asked. "Here, let me help," Peach said. Peach found a way to let her and Josephina cross the stick together. She let Josephina put her feet on her own and held her hand. Peach's left hand was used to maintain balance by pushing on the wall. She let Josephina join the others before Brokus saw her. She jumped to the windowsill and pushed the stick down before leaving. After Peach joined the rest of the team, Annalise and Mario both made sure everyone was present before running off. The regrouped Nin-10 ended up closer to the sport field at Daranaka Academy, where Pujarbao was played outside. "We're safe now," Mario said. "But, Annalise said. "How are we supposed to return to normal?" "Those 3 boys stole our elixir," Peach said. "They must have made a poisonous elixir and swapped it with ours." "They must have hidden it somewhere," Mario said. along with an elixir that can bring us back to normal. This makes no sense to me, Annalise said. I met those guys at the cathedral during orientation. They were nice until I mentioned that I knew nothing about the Darinkans and until Mario and Luigi showed up. Those people, Daisy said. They think we are flat out defiant even if we know nothing about their beliefs. There's a huge difference between knowing and choosing to be defiant and not knowing at all. I should know not to trust any of them, Annalise said. I just hope that this incident will be persuasive enough for us to get out of this school for good. So if we're going to get those elixirs back, Mario said, then we need to sneak back into the school and get them without getting caught. That wouldn't be so easy at our normal sizes, but it would be crucial to keep silent and stay out of sight. Before doing anything else, the Ninten found a place to hide within the sports field to stay for a little while longer, underneath the stands that ran across the north and east sides. They decided to refresh their energy after making their big escape from the schoolhouse. Unfortunately, nobody had any food on them, so they thought that the cafeteria had something, even though they were running the risk that more people could also be there. There was really nothing else to do other than search the campus for any open doors. By the time the Ninten escaped the school, however, the professors had finished cleaning up, and class was back in session, which meant that people wouldn't be roaming the halls. The main problem was that the Ninten could only tell time based on the sun's position, and they didn't know every class's individual schedule. They could have been anywhere. If we end up waiting until night, Rosalina said, all doors will be locked. I say we check the side doors first, Mylodon said. Those doors lead to the hallways only. There were 2 sets of doors on the left side and one on the right. The 2 doors on the left both led to the hallways. On the right, however, one set of doors led to the cafeteria. There were also 2 sets of back doors that also led to the cafeteria and the gymnasium, but the backyard was bordered by a white fence. Since the Ninten was closer to the left side, that's where they went first. Both sets of doors were locked. Now that we are much smaller, walking is going to require much more time and energy, Annalise said. If we were being chased, it'll only be worse, Luigi said. Next, the Ninten went past the front side to make their way to the right side. The only unlocked door was the set on the right side that led to the cafeteria, for the left door was open. Before the Ninten approached the door, they checked the sun's position to see if it was time for dismissal or Nyxater. The sun was just past the middle of the sky, which meant it wasn't quite time yet. Therefore, the Ninten found it safe to approach the door. However, there was another problem. The cafeteria and the gymnasium were not divided into 2 separate rooms, meaning that anyone in the gymnasium was visible from the cafeteria. One thing that could really go wrong was if there was a class in the gymnasium, and their actions interacted with the cafeteria. Like if any of the sports balls bounced all over the floor and walls. Mario took a peek inside, and there was indeed a class in the gymnasium, but they weren't doing anything at the moment. That was their chance to at least get some food for the rest of the adventure. It was indeed safe enough for the Ninten to enter the building and see that the door to the kitchen was only a small gate that was elevated off the ground. The tiny heroes entered the kitchen, but all they found was unnatural food. The only real food they could find was stored in wooden crates, reserved for processing before Nyxater. Everyone who possessed a sharp weapon cut one of the crates open and were able to retrieve ample fruits that were found inside. There they ate, replenishing their depleted energy, and tried to see if they could make it out of the cafeteria and into the hallway, only by making it past the gymnasium. They don't seem to be doing anything yet, Annalise said. It must be just a warm-up. Things could get hectic if we don't make a move now. The class was warming up for their session near the back corner of the gymnasium, making it harder for them to see the Ninten. At that moment, they immediately left the kitchen, but before they could enter the hallway, they noticed Braun wandering around. It appeared that he only left the side door open as a trap, seeing if the tiny heroes would make a break for the hallway as quickly as possible. That was when the warm-up routine was at its end, and the class had taken sports balls from the closet and prepared to play another sport that was native to their division, dodgeball. During that game, everyone threw sports balls from one side to another, trying to hit every player on the opposing team. That was the game where the Darinkans became so intense that nearly every ball coming from the end entered the cafeteria and bounced all around. "We need to retreat," Mario said. "We won't be able to make it." Thus Mario spoke, and the Ninten went outside once again. Bron stood at the door as they fled, for he and Ziney both planned to trap the heroes like that, but they were able to escape. Before Bron closed the door, he was stunned by a feeling of attention. Then he spoke to the tiny heroes. "The goddess has spoken to me, and she told me to tell you this," Bron said. "You children really are resistant to me. I gave you these gifts so that you may serve me, and yet you use them for your own purposes. If I have to put an end to it, I will, and it will be through my true servants. Consider this to be a warning." "You heard it. Now, you shall be punished for standing against us." Bron closed the door then, and the Ninten's only hope was to find out how to get in from the front because there was a staircase there, and the back doors both led to the exact same room. The Ninten successfully made it back to the front door, but it was still locked, and nobody was there. There they decided to rest and regain some energy and motivation. "Please forgive me," Mario said. "Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza, Luigi and I had just brought you into Thedos, and now we all have been shrunken not too long after, and so have you." "Yes, I agree," Luigi said. "We have accidentally lured you princesses into a trap that was initially set for the rest of us." "No, Mario. No, Luigi," Peach said. "You guys needed our help. You brought me and the princesses here to assist you in battle against our toughest enemies. The Darinkans seem to be no different now." "Agreed," Daisy said. "You guys had it rough during your last battle. And so, if you happen to stumble upon this situation without us, then you would be unprepared. If you think that these children really are that defenseless," Rosalina said, "then you should also look upon yourselves. Mario, even you needed help from these children, like Annalise." "Yes, and if she wasn't there for you, then Nightmare Mario would have eaten you," Kenza said. "Don't think that we are mad at you for dragging us into a situation you would have needed help with in the first place. That's why we're here." Mario still felt bad for what he dragged the princesses into, though Luigi deeply understood. "Think, bro," Luigi said. "Do you think that everything we have been through so far, that you would be able to make it all by yourself? Do you think that your strength could overpower Nightmare Mario on your own?" Mario sighed and shook his head in dismay. "No, Luigi," Mario said. "None of my attacks can even affect him." And then there came the sudden invasion of Bowser's army. Peach said, "Mario, would you have been able to take them by yourself, despite them outnumbering you? Or did you require help from Annalise and your brother just to make it out alive?" Mario didn't have an answer. During that discussion, the rest of the Ninten looked around to find another alternate entrance. The window they escaped from previously was only inaccessible because there was no way to climb back up the potted plant. Every other window was shut. "There's no more," Inara said. "Every door and window is shut or inaccessible." "They may have set a trap for us, but we managed to escape," Azalea said. "We may be safe now, but the unfortunate thing is that we can't go in that way anymore," Cornyn said. "There's no other way to return to normal. Those guys must have known the other elixir they took and hid would make us big again. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken it. There's no way any of them will let us in," Analamis said. "Especially since Brokus, Multus, and Zahn are in there trying to kill us. Maybe they do want us in, though. I can't stand with this horrible community," Aaron said. "I should have known that there was something fishy about this place to begin with." "I'm not scared of some silly prophecy made by a goddess who feels unreal," Nuta said. "This is probably just the Darinkans putting the pressure on us by themselves. But if there really is something out there, then there must be hope for us," Cassiela said. "How are we supposed to figure that out?" "You're right," Mylanon said. "What about that light that came to us, like Mom said? You know, the one that gave us our gear?" "Okay, so where is it?" Josephina asked. "We could really use some guidance by now." Annalise regrouped with Mario while the others looked around the front yard for clues. Peach eventually butted into their conversation, suggesting a thought she overheard from the rest of the team, for the thought of there being a real supernatural being piqued her interest. "Whoever sent this light to you could probably help us," Peach said. "We are currently at a stalemate." As Peach spoke, A light appeared at the front left corner of the school. This light bore many colors, with a centrality of a white beam. Its brightness caught the Ninten's attention, and so they approached it before it faded. There was a small gap in the front left corner, and it led underground. Has this always been here? Annalise asked. Well, if the light showed us this, then it must be the right way, Mario said. The Ninten entered the underground, but they failed to progress through the tunnel due to the darkness, so the light reappeared. There was nothing but dirt, and the tunnel was narrow, until there was a bigger area with a split path leading in 5 different directions. You're joking, Annalise said. Don't fret, Peach said. That light should show us where to go. The light did not go anywhere, for it stayed close to the center of the ceiling. No matter what any of the heroes said, the light didn't move. That could only mean that there was something amidst. Once all was silent, they all could hear something approaching. This must be a warning, Mario said. Don't let your guard down. From the center path, Wiggler approached. Smaller enemies came from the other 4 paths, Stingbees, Bittybuds, and Para-Bittybuds, and they didn't stop entering, making the next battle seem endless. Whoever sent this light to us knows best, Luigi said. Indeed, Rosalina said. This can only mean that if it stops, then we must also stop. That begs the question, Daisy said. Why would these people think that this light came from their goddess when none of their passages say anything about it? These people are crazy, Kenza said. There must be some way we can prove to them that this light means something different. If we're gonna do that, we'll have to get to them safely, Peach said. Let's get going. Wiggler didn't allow the Ninten to pass, for the light still didn't move. Therefore, they had to fight their way out of the situation. To stop reinforcements from entering, the 4 additional paths had to be collapsed using dirt from above them. The Ninten split up to attack the ceiling above each path, causing the loose dirt to fall and block them off, so reinforcements stopped appearing. Thus the additional enemies were defeated, and Wiggler became upset, turning from yellow to red in the process. Thenceforth his attack power and speed increased. Do whatever you can to evade Wiggler's stronger attacks, Peach said. He'll only move faster as long as he's red, and his attack power is only stronger than it is when he's yellow. The Ninten took that advice, keeping clear of Wiggler's strong dash attacks and attacking when they had the chance. Peach defended Josephina and healed those who were injured, as Cornyn, Cassiela, Aaron, Azalea, Daisy, Rosalina, Mario, and Luigi fired projectiles from afar. Anytime Wiggler was stunned, Annalise, Anonymous, Nuta, Milanon, Inaro, and Kenza could safely go in for physical attacks. Once Wiggler was defeated, lying unconscious on the ground with his head against the wall, the light finally moved again, continuing along the path that was across from the path the tiny heroes just came from. The light then disappeared as the path was ending, creating an opening into one of the corners close to the staircase that was closer to the gymnasium and the cafeteria. Nobody was on the lookout. The Ninten had successfully re-entered the school without any problems. The door to the staircase was wide open. The next challenge was to climb the stairs. Each step was twice the height of each hero. The light wasn't there to help them that time. Both staircases in the building looked the same. There were 2 sections, the halfway point being against the back wall. The bottom half of the stairs started the closest to the door and led up away from the door on the right-hand side. The top half on the left side went in the opposite direction, leading up to the door going into the 2nd floor hallway. Well, Annalise said. Now what? Can you jump high enough to reach it? Mario asked. Annalise jumped and grabbed the ledge of the first step. It took her a moment to pull herself up. Meanwhile, Mario jumped his way up to the halfway point already. Luigi was right behind him, but everybody else was all the way at the beginning. Let's not split up, Peach said. You 2 should stand close to the wall and wait for the rest of us. Is there a problem? Luigi asked. Why can't they climb up? It's hard, Annalise said. I'm not as capable as the rest of you. I can't even reach it, Josephina said. I'm too short. Mario said. Mario and Luigi were the only ones capable of jumping up all of the steps without any issues. They questioned whether or not the rest of the heroes would be able to make it at all in time. Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza were able to climb up to where Mario and Luigi were, but it took them double the amount of time it took the bros. Just try it, Peach said. Did any of you even start? Annalise continued to try to climb the steps, but it took her more time to make it up than it took the princesses. Then she thought about how she managed to rescue Mario before Nightmare Mario ate him, which she performed with a high jump. The more she thought about it, the quicker she started to climb the steps, eventually making it up to the same level as Mario and the others. That's odd, Mylanon said. Annalise, you were just going slow. How did you manage to make it up there so quickly? Do what? Annalise asked. I was making a fool of myself. If I can rescue Mario from Nightmare Mario's grasp, I can climb the steps. She has a point, Mario said. However, I didn't see anyone else performing moves like that. Give it a shot. Both Mylanon and Nanaro tried to climb the steps the same way Annalise did, and they didn't notice how well they did, believing that it took them way shorter to make it halfway. Cornan and Aaron were right behind them, who were followed by Anylamus, Cassiela, and Nuta. Azalea was a little bit farther behind them, but Josephina couldn't reach the first step. Why did you all abandon me? Josephina asked. I can't reach the first step. Can you jump? Azalea asked. Even if I do jump, I can't reach, Josephina said. Just keep going, Azalea, Mario said. Let me help her. Mario jumped all the way back down the steps, and Azalea continued until she met up with the others halfway. Josephina was continuously jumping, with her hands in the air, but she failed to reach the first step. Mario stood beside her. Peach was right, Mario said. Those guys must be absolutely horrible. How selfish of them to neglect the fact that you are so much younger and smaller than the rest of us. What gives them the right to cause you to suffer like this? It must be that goddess they adore so much, Josephina said. I knew that their laws were so discomforting, but my goodness. Mario jumped onto the first step, turned around, and held out his hand. Come on, Mario said. Josephina grabbed Mario's hand, and as he jumped onto each step, he pulled her up behind him. By the time the entire team was back together, they all decided to go up the rest of the steps at once. Luigi made it first, followed by the princesses, followed by Annalise and the rest of the team, and Mario and Josephina were last. As they met up, Mario seemed more upset than Josephina did. I never want to do that again, Mario said. Those guys are unforgivable, making a 6-year-old go through the same stress as a group of teenagers. There was no other way to help her, and it was so painful. I never complain about pain, but this is the worst it's ever been. Yeah, Mario? Annalise asked. I hate this school just as much as you do. You're right, I do hate it, Mario said. But do you want to know what's worse? The people here. Well, yeah, they're the ones who run the place, Annalise said. As the Nintendo progressed through the hallway, Mario was still mad about what Brokus, Multus, and Zahn did. They all turned left, for the lab was down that hallway. It was the first door on the left, a double door, and the room beside it was Elijah's classroom. The door was cracked open, and the lights were turned off. The lights from the hallway shone through so that the Nintendo could see just fine, for the hallway and the lab were connected by big windows. The heroes entered the lab, thinking that the correct elixir was hidden inside a cupboard. Luckily, the cupboards weren't difficult to open. Inside the smaller cupboards were supplies such as glass bottles, utensils, cleaning tools, and unused substances. Inside the bigger cupboards were supplies such as vests, goggles, gloves, and bigger test subjects like fake plants and mannequins. Where can the elixir be? Annalise asked. Would they be reckless enough to throw it out? They definitely didn't trash it, Cornan said, or else everyone would have noticed. Annalise opened the big cupboard that was the closest to the door, and it consisted of a few shelves with bottled liquids. There was a cloth over a few bottles on the top shelf. Annalise jumped and grabbed onto the first shelf, and she continued to jump until she made it to the top and removed the cloth. There she found the team's original elixir and an enlarging elixir, both unused. Guys, I got it! Annalise said. Come close, but not too close. Annalise pushed the enlarging elixir off the shelf. The glass shattered, releasing magical fumes that affected all 16 of the tiny heroes, causing them to grow back to their normal sizes. Annalise regrouped with the team as they all returned to normal. Elijah and his class heard the sound of the broken glass and immediately went to the lab to see what happened. The professor opened the door, turned on the lights, and saw that the 16 heroes were no longer tiny. Ironically, the class he was teaching at the time was Cetata, Annalise's class. None of the students interacted with the mess, but the sight of the Ninten at their normal sizes infuriated Brokus, Multus, and Zahn. I didn't know they had it in them, Zahn said. They are definitely something else, Multus said. Yes, they are, Brokus said. They are indeed. Elijah and the rest of the class were shocked by the mess. Yet none of it was on the Ninten. The professor stepped into the classroom to clean up the broken glass, but Brokus halted him. Let us take care of it, sir, Brokus said. Why? Elijah asked. You guys should stay with the rest of your classmates. But the goddess told us to handle it, Brokus said. Did she now? Elijah asked. What were her words? Those children really are resistant to me. I gave them their gifts so that they may serve me, and yet they use them for their own purposes. If I have to put an end to it, I will, and it will be through my true servants. Consider this to be a warning. I thought she was referring to the professors until she said my name, Brokus said. The passage Brokus quoted was very similar to what Braun said. What did she say then, when she said your name? Elijah asked. This is what she said, Brokus said. Brokus, you and your friends may be rebellious to the school at times, but it seems to come in handy as you may deal with non-believers such as the Ninten. I put my trust in you, that your annoyance may drive them out of my domain, dead or alive. This stunned the Ninten. Then I will leave it to you, Elijah said. Elijah left the lab and gave instructions to the rest of the class. You all should return to class, Elijah said. Don't worry, for your 3 classmates are about to heed the goddess's command. Thus Elijah spoke, and the Cetata students returned with him to his classroom. Zahn closed the door to the lab, and Multus turned off the lights. Brokus held 3 muskets and gave 2 of them to the other 2 boys. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Annalise said. Who allowed you to use those? The goddess did, Brokus said. Didn't you pay attention to the rules? Did you read your Durianus? What rule? Annalise asked. This one. We are expected to use weapons called muskets, which are more deadly than the weapons they use. That way, we can surely ensure that they continue no more, Brokus said. This enraged Annalise, and a battle started. The lab was a large room, so the battlefield wasn't cramped. Brokus, Multus, and Zahn all started with fast attacks, each using 1 musket. I must thank the goddess for letting me train for so long, Brokus said. Check this out. Brokus fired at one of the lab tables, and it broke into several pieces. Then he aimed at Annalise. Come at me, Brokus said. Every time Brokus, Multus, or Zahn attacked, they would clear some of the terrain. The muskets could deal a lot of damage when used to break tables, so the Ninten used as much cover as they could while trying to attack. Annalise even blocked the shots with her sword and shield, and they didn't collapse like the tables did. So you still fight, Brokus said. I thought that first move would have sent you crying for your mothers. Your attacks are nothing compared to the last enemies I have fought, Annalise said. All right then, Brokus said. Let's kick things up a notch. Brokus sent Multus and Zahn to grab some toxic elixirs to toss at the Ninten, but they missed every shot. Mario and Luigi both fired their fireballs at Brokus, leaving him burned and causing him to drop his musket. Before Multus and Zahn could defend him, they were caught off guard by the rest of the team, and they were overcome by Milanon, Inaro, and the 4 princesses Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza. Annalise then kicked Brokus to the ground and held her blade close to his neck. You're through, Annalise said. How is this possible? Brokus asked. The goddess granted her powers to me and the boys, and yet those powers were no match for you. How then are you still well after this fight? What equipment has the goddess given you that she may allow you to fight against us and win? That's where you're lost, Annalise said. Suddenly, the lab door opened. The Ninten put away their weapons as Andono and Braun entered the room. Brokus was still on the ground, begging Andono for help. "Sir," Brokus said, "look at what these fiends have done. They have overcome our trick. How could the goddess have allowed this?" "Get up, you filthy swine," Braun said. "All three of you." Brokus, Multis, and Zahn stood up and regrouped, and they were confused. "I'm sorry," Brokus said. "You were yelling at them, right? You meant 16 instead of 3, right?" "Young man, we have been in school long before you," Braun said. "Don't think we can't do basic math. I'm sure I counted 3 boys who are now in a lot of trouble." "Us? In trouble?" Zahn asked. "But the goddess asked us to fight against them," Multis said. "That is not what she told me," Andono said. "I can only tell that you lied to your professor just so that you could trash the lab while trying to kill these 16 children." "But sir," Brokus said, "what did the goddess say earlier?" "What she said was a warning," Braun said. "She warned the Ninten not to stand against her will. That doesn't mean that they have to fear your will. Remember, free will doesn't exist here, and you are no exception. Either you misheard what the goddess told you, or you all are lying to us." "Oh, then I obviously misheard," Brokus said. "Hang on," Mario said. "Braun, what did you tell us earlier? What did the goddess tell you to tell us?" "You mean when I kicked you out of the cafeteria?" Braun asked. "That doesn't matter right now. All that matters is what she told me after that." "Then what did she tell you?" Mario asked. "Even if these children are defiant, I will not take away their chances unless they downright refuse everything about me. I don't want you to hurt them unless you have noticed this behavior. Now, all I'm concerned about is what Brokus, Multis, and Zahn did to them. I did not tell them to do it. That one was entirely on them. If they get into any more quarrels with them, then I suggest you put a stop to it," Braun said. "No, that's not what she told me," Brokus said. "She said my annoyance would come in handy." "I've had enough of you, Brokus," Andono said. "Did the goddess really train you to use these skills you used to make this atrocious mess? Did this happen before or after you entered the scene? As a matter of fact, did the goddess tell you to shrink the Ninten? From what she told Braun, that sounds like a no." "But," Brokus said. "That's enough," Andono said. "I get that these children would be punished for their resistance, but placing curses on them and then trashing the school for your own good is not the answer. Now, you 16, please step out." The Ninten left the lab, but before Annalise stepped out, she grabbed the elixir that her team originally made. Andono noticed and tapped on her shoulder as she left. "Thanks to what these 3 punks did to you," Andono said, "your team was never able to show off your elixir. Why don't you do it now?" "Now?" Annalise asked. "Are you sure?" "Yes, please," Andono said. "Place it on the ground and remove the top." Annalise obeyed, placing the elixir on the ground and removing the top. Then, the elixir immediately fired different color patterns out of it for about 30 seconds. Both Braun and Andono felt pleased. "I thought you all stood against these colors," Annalise said. "Why aren't you mad?" "Look, Annalise," Andono said, "I must apologize to you and all of your friends. We are never usually this harsh toward new students. We put too much on you on the very first day, and I understand how uncomfortable it made you all feel. You all must really hate us now, don't you?" "Honestly, I'm more upset with the 3 guys in the lab," Mario said. "They kept saying that the goddess told them to treat us the way they did, so that's what made us all think that the goddess has always been this cruel." "No, Mario," Andono said. "Please accept my apology when I say that what they said to you was wrong. It's a shame we didn't know about this sooner, and that's entirely on the school staff. Oh, what made us think that intimidation would be convincing enough for you to surrender to the goddess?" "Huh, so there really are nice people here after all," Peach said. "Who would have thought?" Yes, Andono said. "And I am sorry that we made ourselves look obnoxious to you. We will make sure to never do it again. That being said, for your own safety, we will never enforce the Elixir competition on you ever again, which means that you are the winners for this month. None of us have seen an Elixir put on such a show for the amount of time we have worked here. And when Professor Elijah said that you shall win the goddess's glory, we would like to give you all another chance by starting all over. We really should not have treated you with such cruelty. Even as mature adults, we should know better. I know the goddess gave you this gear for a very specific reason, and you shouldn't fail in any of your challenges. Look, I think we started off on the wrong foot, Braun said. Therefore, I should tell you this. I noticed the way you defeated that giant who invaded our campus. I have never seen a group of teenagers take on such a challenge and return here in one piece. Every single one of you did that. That performance was amazing, and I'm so proud of you all. And I have to thank you for protecting our people during such a tough situation. Yes, I am equally thankful, Andono said. I was mortified at the sight of such a thing. Never in my life have I ever seen a giant invade Thedos. The way you all defeated him surprised me. They were talking about Nightmare Mario. So, are we all good now? May we restart? Braun asked. The Nintendo consulted for a bit. They agreed that Brokus, Maltus, and Zahn were the only students who were cruel to them. Therefore, they never bothered to try to get to know anybody else. They took it into consideration and agreed to give it another try. You've got yourselves a deal, Mario said. Please, make sure nobody treats us the way those boys did without cause. We should have known that those boys would have the minds to pull that stunt off since you are all new to our beliefs, Andono said. To you especially, Mario, for what you did the first time you ever set foot on campus. That must be what made us a lot less convincing, Braun said. Even in the toughest situations, the goddess is still a kind soul. I'll take your word for it, Annalise said. All right then, Andono said. Considering everything you just went through, we will allow you all to go home now. The Nintendo thanked Andono and Braun and went straight home. Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Kenza agreed to share one house to provide more vacancy for those in the most need. As for you three, Andono said, you will not be allowed to leave this room until it is spotless.